first big things in positive psychology were not based necessarily on really good empirical research. Take strengths, for example. I mean, the categorization of strengths and so on, very arbitrary, something that few guys decided that that's how it should be.
And this is, you're talking about the VIA strengths survey
yeah,
and things
right.
like this? So these are surveys or inventories of strengths and character virtues.
That's right.
And you can find it on what website is that?
It's if you just go VIA and Google, it will come on the first page, and it's free. It does take quite a lot of time. It takes about 40 minutes to do, 45 minutes, but it's supposed to tell you what are your 3 top strengths.
Strengths, exactly, which you can then build on, hopefully use in your work and your personal life.
That's the idea.
Is it a valid test or not?
Well, that's a very good question. I personally don't think it is. It actually is telling you more what strengths you would like to have.
I've done it, and you can answer any way you want, obviously.
Well, exactly.
And it's very obvious what they're trying to get at.
And this is one of these quirks, like what is actually, what are the limits of psychology and psychological research on the first place if it depends on actually your answers. Because actually you don't need to want to lie to me, but you may unconsciously lie to yourself.
Yeah.
So you may admire certain strengths and you really want to have them, and you unconsciously completely you answer in such a way that they come up as your top strengths, but they may not be.
Can you first of all talk about whether you do think it's important to identify your own strengths and build upon them, and if so, what's the best way of going about that?
It is important for some people. Let me give you an example. Have you ever done those funny optical illusions where you see either a vase or 2 faces?
Yes.
Right? And you switch between these 2. Now imagine that you actually look at yourself and always see a vase, never 2 faces. And imagine that vase are actually your weaknesses. So what happens is actually, first of all, you don't see yourself very well. You see just only one side of yourself. It can make you feel really down. And that's what we often do. If I ask you now to tell me your 3 weaknesses, most likely that you'll be able to do that very quickly. If I ask you to tell me your 3 strengths, that would be probably more difficult. We know that usually it takes about at least 20 to 30% more time to actually figure out your strengths than your weaknesses.
Okay, so it doesn't come to mind as easily, so...
As weaknesses. So my point is, it's important to do this, to focus on your strengths in order to balance these things.
Yeah.
So in your life, so that you can push a little bit 2 faces in front, rather than always just focusing on the vase.
Yeah.
So, and therefore, it really works well for those who need balance in this respect. However, if you overdo it, if you now just focus on your strengths, which is, I think, one of the most serious charges of positive psychology, being like acknowledging that or criticizing psychology is usually that limping on one leg. Right now what positive psychology is trying to do is limp also on one leg. Yes, it's different leg, but still one leg. And that's a big problem, because imagine every strength, if you push to an extreme, it becomes in fact weakness. And let's say take kindness. Kindness to push to an extreme becomes a servility. Because it's too much. And anything else, leadership. I knew somebody who found out from that VIA
survey,
that her strength is love of fairness and justice. I don't know exactly what's the name, fairness and justice, something of that particular strength. And since then, she became such a pain in the neck, to be polite, because everything was suddenly, she felt righteous to bring fairness. She just needs to any minute thing that somebody would. And I believe she probably lost a lot of friends because of that. Yeah. And whenever people try to point out, come on, give us a break a little bit, she would say like, oh, I can't help it, this is my strength. So you can actually overdo it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting distinction. So how do you actually go about identifying it really quickly? How do you go around about identifying your key strengths other than the VIA survey?
Well, I wouldn't know, I haven't done VIA.
Yeah, so apart from that area of surveys, what other ways are there of introspecting?
There are number of techniques and ways. I mean, first of all, there is also strength finder. This is another way to identify these things. It's also on the web. There are other techniques used in coaching specifically, where basically you ask other people what they think. Yeah. They're actually nice. The best ways is actually to combine things. So see what you think about that, what other people think. See actually what comes to you naturally.
So we're triangulating again as well.
Exactly, exactly. What comes to you naturally, what you enjoy doing is probably something that is your strength.
Okay, okay. And actually applying them in real life, in your work
in
or
a balanced
in personal
way, yes.
life? How do you go about doing that effectively?
Well,
or is that up to everyone else, everyone's individual imagination?
It certainly is to some extent, but what I would say to do not neglect your weaknesses either. Imagine a tennis player who is very good in backhand, but is bad in forehand. Now, I mean, he won't be a good player. So you need both. You need to pay attention to your weaknesses and try to deal with them, but you need to actually strategically utilize your strengths too. Don't overdo it. If it becomes too much, first of all, it will be you'll be nuisance for people around you.
Okay. But in economics and business, I mean, the idea at the moment is to focus on your core competencies and delegate the rest. Do you think there's a danger in that if you actually can delegate it and outsource it? Do you think there's still a danger?
Because you can't delegate everything else. It's not so easy. We are complex human beings, and we need that sort of complexity of that human interactions and work involved. Let's say one of the strengths that come to my mind from the list is kindness. So shall I say, okay, I'll delegate I don't need to, that's not my strength. I don't need to be kind. I'll delegate it to my secretary. Now who is going to be kind to?
Well, that happens, doesn't it? I mean, lots of bosses get their secretaries to pick out their children's presents.
Exactly, exactly. But then I stop being kind even to my secretary. She says, "Okay,
well, that's
I'm going
true. You can delegate that to somebody else." Yeah.
Yes. So I think we are not machines. It's a bit sort of too mechanical to do. I see the point, but again, take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.